The odyssey started with his throat. He, in the middle of the night, had a raging sore throat. It came on super fast. 4 weeks later, it happened again. Raging sore throat, middle of the night, out of nowhere, go back to the hospital, same procedure.
The early health scare last March for Skyler Nash, tonsillitis. He was treated with steroids, fluids, and a penicillin shot.
Another 4 weeks, and this time it's his stomach.
I had started to have some pain in my stomach midway through the practice, and I was playing through it. And then driving home that night, on the way back to Chicago, it really got bad, and that's kind of when I realized, like, okay, maybe something's a little bit wrong here.
End up back at the hospital. This time we have to get admitted, and that's when the steam train really takes off and starts rolling.
Initially, they thought that my appendix had burst, and so when I immediately got to the emergency room, they were prepping me for operation and rolling me to the operating room, but then they came and stop, his appendix is fine. It's like, okay, well then what's wrong? Because, when you have a 17-year-old come in and blood pressure's through the roof, and I'm up there on the pain scale and sweating and all that, they didn't really know what was wrong.
And finding out what was wrong became a problem.
They didn't want to initially do the colonoscopy because they're like, we're not going to do a colonoscopy on a 17-year-old kid, but she fought them on it.
Call it mother's intuition. Skyler's sister had pancreatitis, and his mom, Lori, recalled the times she's dealt with her daughter's condition to now fight for her son.
I was familiar with the colonoscopy. I was familiar with what it could look at. I knew that his problem had to do with the intestinal tract, but it could also, because of the symptoms that he was having, it very well could be in the colon. And so we already know what's going on up here. We need to go the other direction and stop messing around.
Because of Lori's persistence, the procedure normally done when men turn 50 was done for her 17-year-old son. Doctors discovered Skyler had a bacterial infection, which is believed to have come from the combination of the emergency room visits, the penicillin shots at each visit, and Skyler's weakened immune system from having tonsillitis. And because of the demand for the colonoscopy, a greater danger was discovered, a couple of polyps. And biopsy results showed there was even more.
The doctor's sitting there and he says, well, we found a carcinoid tumor, but he just says carcinoid tumor, and so in my mind, that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm just like, well, at least it's not cancer.
We started Googling and putting in carcinoid tumor, and everything came back cancer. And we're like, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I have cancer.
The potential life-changing news shocked Skyler and his family, but after many consultations with doctors and specialists, the cancerous tumor was successfully removed.
They thought initially that they were going to have to resect a large part of my digestive tract to get out of the tumor, and that would have really hampered my ability to go about basketball and different everyday activities.
And now the difficult journey of getting back to basketball and normal life has begun.
When we talk about mental obstacles, that was like the hardest thing I've had to go through. And obviously, being 17 years old, it's like, oh, that's hard. But I mean, basketball has been everything for me. Not being able to go to practice, being in the bed all the time, I mean, that for me was just, it'll be a while before I go through something as hard as that.
The surgery and the effects it had on his body meant Skyler had to miss the summer AAU league and the crucial college recruiting period. Scholarship offers weren't coming in anymore, and the thought of playing college basketball had to be put on hold.
Just kind of working my way back, and 1 month maybe, not being able to dunk, which is like, crazy to think I've been dunking since 8th grade, but then I go up to dunk and I'm not able to dunk, or only being able to work out hard for 30 minutes before I'm really just gassed. And so kind of having to work through those different obstacles and just, I don't want to say minimize my expectations, but be realistic with myself about where I want to be at certain times, and trying to realize that it was a marathon, not a sprint.
To watch my kid face mortality and to face potentially the loss of his life stream was the most heart-wrenching experience of my life.
Skyler fought to get back on the court and play the game he's loved his entire life.
Basketball is really a year-round thing for you from an early age, and so having kind of like being forced to step away from it, all you're thinking about for months and months and months is just getting back out on the court, working out, wanted to get in the gym, putting up shots.
Skyler missed the first couple of games of his senior season, but when he came back, he averaged 14 points and 6 rebounds per game while shooting almost 50%. With his success on the court came perspective in his life off of it.
You know, when you get that close to taking away something that has been like your whole life, you have to realize like there's more to this than just basketball. And so being faced with that, having to say, well, I might not be able to do this anymore, it really forced me to kind of look inside myself and then look at my life as a whole and say, well, if this is taken away from me, where do I go from here? I have an appreciation every day that I'm walking in here and being able to compete and play with my friends and do what I love, because I know that that can be taken away from me so quickly.